Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope all of you are doing well. So today, continuing on the Death Wish reviews, I'm going to be reviewing Death Wish for the Crackdown. So, released in 1987, everything seems to be normal. He's just living his normal life. That is until his girlfriend's daughter ends up passing away due to a drug overdose. There is a big drug issue that is going on, and a lot of young adults or teenagers are pretty much passing. So, uh, you know, things start to go into a direction where Paul Kersey wants to find out what happened to his girlfriend's daughter, and I believe she's a reporter. And one thing after another ends up getting to a point where Paul Kersey is hired. He's hired by this wealthy gentleman to figure out, what's going on with these, kind of find his, he's looking for, getting way ahead of myself. Let's rewind that. Excuse me. Having a cup of coffee, so, excuse me. So, excuse me, before I was rudely interrupted, um, so basically, he is hired by this wealthy gentleman, as I stated, and he, the older gentleman, wants him to look, I believe, for his daughter. His daughter's missing, and he, there's a lot of, issues going on when it comes to drugs, and there's these two gangs that are kind of taking over the area in some way, and it's up to Paul Kersey to kind of, stop these two gangs that are almost rivals towards each other, but end up actually, working together once they find out Paul Kersey is kind of, invading both of their territory. So it's kind of expected in typical movies that you see, but you do get a nice twist to it, which I think, for those who may watch it for the first time, may not expect the twist. For me, the first time I watched it, I was not expecting it. So I feel like it really made the story more interesting when you find out that there is a nice twist to it, and what you thought you knew, you really didn't know. Now, a little fun movie fact: there are two well-known names, but one is well known for voicing a specific villain in a specific kids live-action TV show. So first, let's get with Danny Trejo. Danny Trejo has a small, brief role in this film as he plays one of the, I would say not henchmen, but he's kind of like a partner to one of the main, kingpins, drug kingpins in this film. And there's a scene where he recognizes Paul Kersey's character, and Danny Trejo has never aged. He still looks the same, maybe longer hair. He had short hair, I think, in this one. From the angle, you can see, and he looks the same. Yeah, he's gotten older, some wrinkles here and there, but it. Excuse me, it's amazing how much you see him in movies you wouldn't expect him to see, and he doesn't look like he's aged a day in his life. Excuse me. God, excuse me. Every time I do a video, it's always something when it comes to me, belching. So I apologize for that. And this is like the third time I've tried to film this review. Excuse me. Anyway, again, getting rudely interrupted. So I thought it was pretty cool to see him in this. And then another actor is the actor who voices Lord Zed in the Power Rangers. He is a bartender in a specific scene, which is pretty cool. When I first saw the scene, I was like, he looks familiar. I recognize that face. Of course, the voice, he's talking in his normal voice, so you're not gonna, you're not gonna expect it. I mean, if you know your Power Ranger history, you'll know right away. But for those who aren't familiar, you know who Lord Zed is, you recognize the voice, but for a lot of people who may not know who the actor that portrayed him, it's cool to see him have a small little appearance in this film. Sadly, he has passed. He had a lot of health issues. I think like a lot of back issues, and he was up there in age. But it was really cool to see him in this, and yeah, thought it was a really cool movie fact. But all in all, it's a pretty decent story. We've gotten away from the 70s grittiness that we had with the first two films. We start to slowly get into that B action film, and compared to the third film, I feel like this one has a better story. We have somewhat of a better villain. We have a nice little twist, which I thought was pretty cool. And just all the things that end up happening. And, it's kind of Paul Kersey is kind of going into the same, almost like a PTSD trigger, because, he's going through the same thing almost that he went through when he was married with his wife and his daughter. Now his girlfriend has to deal with what's going on with the passing of his girlfriend's daughter and things like that. So it's bringing back a lot of those type of memories, and, decides to go put the law in his own hand. And then, of course, you got these two detectives that want to know what's going on. There's this vigilante, the guy that supposedly, took over and fought back certain areas. Like, at this point now, he's got a reputation, but people still don't know who he is. And I like that. Of course, a lot of films, you're going to always have that one or two characters that knows who the secret identity is. It's expected. I mean, but to me, this film, like the first two, I mean, the third has a story to some capacity, but this has a full story. We know what's going on, we know what to expect in some ways, but to have that twist, as I've mentioned numerous times, at this point, I'm a broken record. It's just, I think it adds more to the film, especially if you're someone who may have not seen the film and you're watching it for the first time. I think it's going to make your experience a really good one. Um, but yeah, I wish I could say more. I mean, these Death Wish films are kind of they're self-explanatory. They're pretty much the same concept. They try to do something a little differently, but use the same formula, I guess, is the best way to put it. And I think the direction they went with this, as I've stated before, I think it was the right move. I kind of toned it to, be more of the drama, not the cartoonish like you get in the third film. The third film is great, but it's you can see how they're ending the theme of the first two in some type of way and going into a different direction. But with this, kind of put the brakes down a little bit and reverse things just about. But nonetheless, Death Wish 4, The Crackdown, I think is a fun one. The villain in this is recognizable. I looked up at his IMDb, and he didn't do a whole lot, but he looks similar to another actor. Um, I'll be honest, he looks exactly like the actor who played the grandfather in Road Trip. Who smokes the marijuana with the guys. Um, that actor looks just like him, and I thought maybe that was him, but after looking, it wasn't. So I thought that was pretty funny that that actor looked like him. But Charles Bronson, of course, fantastic. They just once again, outsmarts his opponents. When you think he's outnumbered, he's got the upper hand and all that. Nothing has changed, and I like it. It works. So yeah, really entertaining with that. And there are at times where his emotions get the best of him. He gets really more aggressive than he would, and it works. I feel like it definitely works. Um, so yeah, I wish I could say more, but that's pretty much my review and thoughts, and just kind of give you guys a better look at the release. It is available on Blu-ray as well. Will it ever get a 4K? I don't know. I believe Kino Lorber has a Blu-ray release for this movie. But yeah, Death Wish 4 is one of my personal favorites. I just like the whole story. I like the twist. I think, the character development for Paul Kersey is really good. And just watching the character progress, I think is fantastic. And the music's great as well. You still have that 70s grittiness when it comes to the music, but you also have that, mid to late 80s type of music as well that blends in. And you do have some comedy moments. I think as it's an ongoing theme, but as we progress through the later films, you start to have some more comedic tone mixed into the film, which I think works. It's not over the top or anything like that. So thank you guys so much for tuning into my review and my thoughts on Death Wish for the Crackdown. If you've seen the movie, let me know what your thoughts are. And definitely give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check out my eBay store. Link will be in the description. And I apologize if this review is all over the place. Recently, I've been having issues trying to get my reviews for the Death Wish films because I'm finding myself like re-recording the review 2 to 3 or 4 times because I keep messing up. So I'm just going to keep in the little rude interruptions that came during the video. So it is what it is. I try to make my videos as authentic as I can. I'm going to start working on editing certain videos, but not all of them will be. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Can't say that enough. Drinking some coffee. And I'm Film Talk with Mikey. Till next time, guys, we'll talk films. In the meantime, you guys have a good one. Take care, and I will see you guys, of course, next time.